growing great vegetables is, or can be, a lot about compost. And I want to give you some ideas for making compost, answering a lot of the questions I'm asked, how is best to do it. I thought I'd just start there with, showing the garden and what you can achieve with compost. You can see how much we're putting on. That's for a whole year. And it's about an inch in depth, 3 centimetres. It looks a bit more at the moment because it's kind of fluffed up and some big lumps in there. Wow, big lumps. You can see we're not putting it through a sieve or anything like that. We break up the bigger lumps and put it on. That's how it looks at this time of year. And by the spring, this will be ready to go. You can run a rake through it and it's much softer, will have been broken down by winter weather. And that will grow 2 crops, if not 3. This bed had 3 crops this year between applications of compost. There was radish and turnips, followed by French beans, followed by the Chinese cabbage. We've almost finished them. So we're looking to get the compost on as soon as possible this time of year, late autumn, early winter, and then that's it for the whole year. And then with no dig, you just put it on. You don't need to worry about anything else like digging it in, obviously. Just leave it on top. So making good compost, this is some compost here, which is just 4 months old, and it's looking pretty nice, as you can see. And that can go on with the woody bits as well. Woody bits is good because that's fungal element, and we've been getting some lovely mushrooms, including some wood bluets recently from that. At this stage, you might get worms. I did find a few in here earlier on. I don't know if I can see them again. They're quite shy. And these are tiger worms or brandling worms, red worms. They're not the same as earthworms. They're involved in the final stage of decomposition usually. That's the way I see them here anyway. You don't see them earlier on in compost making when the heap is, say, quite hot. They don't like that. They'll appear later on. You never need to buy worms or add worms to your heap. They just arrive. They're amazing. Question, do you need solid sides or slatted sides? Actually, that's how it's usually phrased. People have been told that the compost heap should have slatted sides, and I find it actually better with solid sides, keeping the warmth and the moisture if it's dry. So that's maybe not ideal plywood, but it's what I've got at the moment. I've invested in some nice planks of Douglas fir. We're leaving a slight gap there, but it's actually more about using less planks to get it's economizing on the wood. I like the sides to be pretty firm and solid to hold in the warmth. And then we also have a roof on here, and people ask, like, for example, should the heaps be in sun or shade? I find it doesn't matter at all. I've had both over the years. The heat comes from the actual breakdown process, not from sunlight, say. Shade, well, sun doesn't matter. This roof is not about keeping sun off in our climate. It's about keeping rain off. So partly you're thinking about, how you set your compost making up will depend on your climate. We have quite a bit of rain here. Our annual rainfall's 37 inches, 920 millimetres, say, roughly. And that's enough to make the compost very soggy. And if your compost gets too soggy, that excludes air. And air is the key ingredient. So that's what turning can be about, but you don't need to turn too often. Someone said, should I spread compost now? Or if I don't, then I'll just need to keep turning it all winter. No, you don't need to do that. And we turn it once. I find that really improves the quality of the compost, and that's why there's a gap there, because this compost heap, which we finished 5 weeks ago, is going to go into there. One turn. We'll just take out this side. This can lift out, and that's how we do it here. And all these finer details you'll work out according to your garden. I mean, for example, the size of your heaps. There's no minimum or maximum. But if you want it hot, the minimum would probably be 1 meter cubed, 3 feet square, but preferably 4 would be better. That's 1.2 meters square. These are actually a bit more than that. They're 5 by 6 feet, 1.5 by 1.8 meter, and that certainly is enough to get warm. As you can see from this thermometer reading nearly 50 centigrade, and nothing's been added to this heap for 5 weeks, and yet it's still that warm. It shows that we've got a good balance. We've got enough green material in the beginning to provoke the heat and volume. And yet we're starting to see fungi, like these amazing little mushrooms. There must be some nice mycelia in there, fungal growth doing that, which is a sign that there's enough woody material as well. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing on the whole, but it's taken me a lot of years to get to this stage. practicing and just working out how best to do it. And that's what I want to share with you. Like, you know, in terms of people say, do you need to layer? Do you need to layer? Well, layering is only a way of making sure that you get your proportions more or less even, rather than have a sort of big mound in the middle that you keep throwing onto, and then it's sort of a bit higgledy-piggledy. And so it's a way of distributing, for example, the greens and the browns. Greens is literally anything green, Brussels sprout, leaf. There's brown is not always brown in colour. You know, ash, for example, is brown if you like. So is cardboard, well, that is brown as it happens, and then the carrot leaves. So, yeah, just nice mix of everything. And if you keep it small, broken down, that's wood from an apple tree I was pruning yesterday and then put through the shredder. This is what a shredder does. It's not only cut it up across, but a good shredder will break it open, and that exposes more surface to bacterial action, which helps with the breakdown. And then, so I put a layer of these shreddings over. You know, I didn't put them all in just one piece, but spread them out, and then there'll be some green on top and so on. Those shreddings mainly I'd count as brown, but when it's green wood, you know, that's still a bit green, even though it's wood. You can see the colour's still a bit green. And then as we go into this heat, it's starting to feel warm. I don't know if you can see the steam coming out as we get down there. In fact, yeah, that's nice. That's still, I can hold my hand there, so it's not hot. If it was summertime, that would have got hot. And it's not only about ambient temperature. It's December now nearly, so it's cooler. Daytime's mid-40s, 7 or 8 centigrade, for example. But it's also because we're not putting on so much green, and that's what provokes heat. Then I'm asked, can you put on this kind of thing? That's a nice root of couch grass I found just for this video, actually, just to show you. But I'm very happy to compost that. That can go on a compost heap, as can bindweed roots, potato peelings, almost everything you can think of, really, can be composted if it's organic matter. And then animals, rats, to be specific. Here is a rat run. In fact, you can see one or two there along the side. Those round holes is where they've gone down. In this case, they're going mostly around the edge of the heap because it's where it's less hot. But they'll be having a nice time down there. However, I'm not overrun with rats here. And, you know, I don't want to be. I accept, though, that if you have a compost heap, you could well have rats. And, you know, maybe we just got to get used to them a bit. In this case, it doesn't matter. I understand in a more suburban situation, it could be an issue. And it's, yeah, very difficult to keep rats out of a busy compost heap, even if you're not putting food in, because they like the warmth. One thing we'll see if we got a lot of rats is they'll be tunneling out the material, and I'm not seeing that here now. And what's happening, actually, is I see a cat around quite a bit. We've got a neighbour's cat. And near to here, you can see it's a little bit wild, there are weasels. And I didn't know this, but Edward, who's filming today, caught a weasel attacking a rat and killing it on film. And, you know, that, well, that was an eye-opener for me. I wasn't sorry to see it, I have to say. You can see the weasel's not much bigger than the rat. But it just shows how this kind of predation is going on all the time. And, you know, it links into the whole ecosystem of a garden, and using no-dig and organic matter mulches, where you are basically working with and encouraging wildlife and letting the wildlife find the balance. And all being well, this can happen even in compost making. The actual making of compost in a heap like this is not a natural process, and you know that. So here I'm stepping a little bit outside the norms of nature, if you like, but still working with the forces of nature and how they can be used to our advantage. What this is doing is speeding up the decomposition, and I hope you've enjoyed a little look at how we're doing it here.